How to be a social justice warrior. Part 1. Definitions. Let us first start by defining the word justice. Traditional definitions of this will suffice. The traditional definition inevitably hovers around the concept that each individual receives that which they have earned. In other words, any individual that has victimized another has earned some form of punishment. Any individual that has been victimized by another has earned some sort of damages from their victimizer. Any individual that has merited money should receive that money according to justice. Any individual that has merited disrespect, disregard, or ostracism according to justice ought to receive disrespect, disregard, and or ostracism. This is the classical understanding of justice. What then do we mean when we say social justice? How do we hope to improve upon this concept by adding on the modifier of social? Well, most social movements love to emphasize the fact that humans are in fact social animals. We tend to group ourselves together and to work together, cooperate for the good of everyone. That's just the natural case with humans, the natural inclination of humans. And so social movements like to look at the group over and above the individual. When someone talks to you of social justice, what they mean to say is they want to see justice applied not to individuals, but to groups. We'll leave that there for now. So what does justice mean in practice? If in theory it's the idea that every individual should receive that which they have earned, in practice what it means is that force may be used in order to obtain that ideal. Right? When we were talking about the application of justice, we were talking about, or whether or not something was justified, we were talking about whether or not it was okay for somebody to use force to achieve their ends. It is just for a person to kill in self-defense. It is just for the laborer to receive their wages. If they are withheld from him, then he is justified in seeking a third party to take by force the property of the person who has withheld wages from the laborer. If that person continues to resist this justice, then it is within the means of the third party to imprison or even kill the perpetrator of this crime. Going back now to social justice and the application of justice to groups, this means that any individual of a group for which a victim narrative can be constructed can claim damages against any individual of a group for whom an oppressor narrative can be constructed, and can in fact use violence in order to enforce that rectification of the perceived wrongs. Now I'll take the time now to remind everyone that this is an advanced course in social justice. Anybody who wishes to continue and make this their career can stay. Anybody who is a part-time activist, who follow this as a hobby or as a concerned citizen, this is going to be too advanced for you, so I ask that you leave. Are we good? Okay. Now we move on to the purpose, the ultimate goal of social justice. It is control. A utopian society cannot be attained without the ability for people at the top to experiment upon the lives of others. The world is a mess, and we just need to rule it. The problem is, when people have freedom, they tend to make mistakes. And they don't want to lose that freedom, and so we have to manipulate and trick them into it. We need to trick them into giving us control over their lives so that we can shape them in the way that they need to go. How does social justice achieve this goal? Well, simply, traditional justice is an obstacle to it. You cannot forcefully manipulate an individual that is guilty of no crime according to traditional concepts of justice. So we need to supplant and overturn justice. The problem there is that people have decided over the last couple of thousand years that justice is a good thing and that they want it. They are wrong, of course, but they don't know that they're wrong. So what we need to do is change the idea of justice to something that it is not. One effective way we have done things like this in the past is to add a modifier to the term we want to change. If we simply decided to redefine justice as when each individual receives that which their superiors believe they should receive, then people would recognize instantly that this was in fact the opposite of traditional justice, and they would rebel against that. The slower, but more sure path is to define a new word, i.e. social justice, which we can tell people is the pursuit of economic, social, and legal equality for everyone. People hear some rather nice buzzwords in there. Equality, social, legal, economic. These are things that people would like to see. What they miss is the means by which it will be obtained. And the fact that if you achieve social and economic equality, you have in fact destroyed justice. Because not everybody earns the same social standing, and not everybody earns the same economic standing. We put the term legal in there also to refer back to times when legal equality was not enjoyed by all, and to mask the fact that we are trying to reintroduce legal inequalities in, of course, pursuit of the economic and social equalities we bring to the forefront and continually pound into our narrative and into our audience. John Rawls put forward one of the best, the most well-defined and most well-defended concepts of social justice. He said that the just society is the one that people would choose if they were to have all memory of their place within that society and their talents and skills and merits removed. In other words, if people did not know what they had earned, what would they like society to look like? The way you know that this is a subversion of traditional justice is, again, put it in the context of a court case. The just court decision is the one that a judge and jury would arrive at if they did not know which party was the victim and which party was the alleged criminal. In such circumstances, the court, of course, would attempt to arrive at the most neutral outcome possible. You don't want to add punishment onto somebody who's already been victimized. Nor do you want to give damages to somebody who in fact damaged someone else. I call your attention to these problems, these challenges, only because you need to recognize that these are to be avoided at all costs in the narrative. Nobody must be allowed to lobby these criticisms against us, because it would destroy us. Thus, we need a means of destroying our critics first. The easy way to do this is, once we have created these narratives of victim and oppressor, to then apply those narratives towards any individual that speaks out against us. No matter what the nature of their criticism is, we need to point them out as being racists, bigots, sexists, homophobes, Islamophobes, whatever is possible, whatever is necessary to shut them up. Ah, you say, but what if the critic is a member of one of these victim classes? Well, quite simply, then they become a traitor, the lowest of the low, and you can call them out as such. So, to sum up, justice is defined as each individual receiving that which they have earned, which necessarily requires a recognition of merit based off earlier actions. This is an obstacle to social control and social experiments from the top down. Thus, to destroy the concept of justice, we must appropriate the term for ourselves through the use of the term social justice, which we can define as simply removing the concept of merit from justice. Anybody who seeks to criticize this action can be classified as a hate criminal against any number of groups that have been deemed a victim class, and any member of those victim classes that become a critic can be blown off and dismissed as traitors. Alright, that was Lesson 1 in How to Be a Social Justice Warrior. We will see you next time for a discussion of methods.